So yeah, see you right after. Not even get past the intro, this is going to be a tough one. What's up, boys, and welcome to this new video. Today we're going to talk about wireless transmission over HDMI and SDI. So we're particularly talking about the CVW Swift 800 Pro. So see you right after the intro. So for my German peeps out there, this video is actually sponsored by Dreamland, the place I work, but nevertheless it's a sponsor, so I'm gonna take it. So yeah, check Dreamland out, cause Dreamland is the place to go when it comes to video, print and digital media, as well as web development. So yeah, thank you for sponsoring this video and hooking me up with the CVW 800 Pro. Check them out and thank you. You know what I really love about YouTubers, especially like sub 1000 subscriber channels? They're always like, yo, this video is not sponsored, but Rode or Sennheiser or any other fucking company, if you like to sponsor me, like, I'll be more than happy to take a look at your shit. Man, shut the fuck up. No one cares about your sub 1000 subscribers fucking bullshit channel. So let's unbox this bad boy and see what's inside. Right off the bat you get a carrying case, which is nice. I always appreciate having a carrying case, and this one looks especially nice and feels nice. It's not that kind of cheap carrying case you get out of China. You can keep your transmitter and your receiver safe when you're carrying these things around. Inside the case you get 5 antennas. 4 of them you can use with you have to use with your transmitter and your receiver, and you have 1 more spare antenna. Then you get the receiver and the transmitter itself, of course. You have 1 power adapter which has a threaded screw so you don't accidentally unplug the cable. You get a L-shaped mount so you can put a monitor on there or something else. You get a 1/4 inch wing nut, and in my case I also have a European plug. So now that we talked about what's inside the case, let's talk about I/O. And this is something that I really love about the CVW, because you have so many options on in and output. On the receiver side you get a HDMI out, 2 SDI out, USB-C and a power connector. On the transmitter you have an HDMI in, SDI loop out, which is kind of cool, so you can go with SDI in, and if you have like another external monitor you can hook that up too, and you have again a power connector. Both transmitter and receiver use like Sony NPF battery mounts, because I have a couple of them batteries lying around, so I love NPF batteries. One of these you can get about the whole day without having to swap batteries. So both have USB-C, which means you can actually power the units using a power bank. Great, I love it, and I love USB-C. Everything should be USB-C. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Apple. Okay, so let's talk about setting these things up. So obviously you want to mount the antennas on the unit. You have 2 antennas per unit, and you have 1 spare antennas. Just keep that in the case and don't lose it. You want to put the antennas at a 90-degree angle to each other so you have the best range possible, which is set up to about 250 meters. That's about 800 feet of range at line of sight. As soon as you turn these things on, you should be able to get a video signal, as long as you have both of them, transmitter and receiver, on the same channel, and you have like a bit of latency, which is not that bad. It states that it's below 70 milliseconds, which is noticeable, but it's usable, so I'm not too concerned about that. Like I mentioned before, you have different channels which you can operate. If you're like in a crowded Wi-Fi or radio zone, you can switch channels so you can avoid latency issues, or even connectivity problems. If you run into that, just switch channels, but don't switch channels actually. Like, if you're running and gunning, switching channels mid-shoot is not something you want to do, because it takes about as long as the unit to boot up. If you switch channels, it takes about 1.5 minutes until they pair up again and they're ready to use. So consider that. You don't want to do this when, like I said, when you're running and gunning, and especially don't do that if you have like a crew waiting for you, or the camera or something set up. Use a break, or when no one is waiting for you, so you go unnoticed. But like I said, channel switching is catastrophic. You really want to avoid doing that, so set it up beforehand and just leave it, never touch it again. unless you have like a couple of minutes of break. So you have 3G, SDI and HDMI 1.3 and 1.4, which means you're up to 1080p 60. For me, it's enough because I only use it as a reference monitor. So if you want 4K, you would probably want to invest in something more expensive like the Teradek, which I will probably never be able to afford in my life. Up to 1080p 60, and below that you have a couple of resolution options, so keep that in mind when you're setting these things up. You don't want your camera outputting 4K. Set it up to 1080p 24, 50 or 60 and you're good to go. Now something else that took me by surprise is the fact that you can use these units with a iPad or tablet or iPhone or every other smartphone device, whatever you want to use. Up to 4 devices you can pair up and use it wirelessly, which I think is kind of awesome. You have the RTSP mode, which means you can set the transmitter to open up a Wi-Fi hotspot for you to connect with your phone or your tablet, and you can hook up to 4 devices which run simultaneously, and that's great, you know. I love being alone. I hate it when someone is behind me, like looking, what the fuck am I doing? And I just can give him the monitor or the phone or the tablet and just, you know, fuck off. Just go over there, leave me alone, let me do my work. I can't stand someone standing next to me or behind me. But here's where things kind of get confusing because, well, they're made in China, let's be honest. The manual is not that great, and they only say just download the app. What app? What is it called? Tell me. So I had to do some Googling. The app you want to download is called Crystal Vision, is available for Android and iOS. You want to download that, like I said, you have to put the unit in RTSP mode. For that you just press and hold the mode button for about 5 seconds and it switches over to RTSP mode. Again, switching modes or channels or booting the device up takes a lot of time, so be patient and wait. As soon as you have the thing opened up, you can connect with your phone using your Wi-Fi settings. Just connect to the CVW, whatever the name is, and put your password in. The standard password is 12345678, and you're good to go. You know, like plenty of options. You have SDI out, you have HDMI out, you have a SDI loop out, and you have the RTSP mode, which means you can use the phone or your tablet, like I said, 4 devices at the same time. So plenty of options. So for you to be left the fuck alone and have everything, you know, do their stuff, like whatever they do, like DPing or focus pulling or whatever you have, just get the fuck away from me, go over there, leave me alone, and I'm good. And I love that. So let's talk about latency, which is more noticeable than just using the unit and the monitor, but you know, it's not that bad. It's actually usable. It's especially not as bad as the GoPro 3 back in the day, if you know what I mean. Yeah, like you have like a couple of seconds, you know, latency, but this one is, you see it, you notice it, but it's okay, you know, it's not like a half a minute latency, so it's okay. Now another plus point for me is the app itself, like not the fact that they don't mention at all where to find the app or how is it called or something like that, but the app is pretty usable. You know, you have focus assist, you have zebras, you have everything you might want to need in a cinema camera, like safe guides and stuff like that, and you can even record on your phone or your tablet. Like if you want to review the footage later in the car, or you don't have to copy footage to your computer, you just can record directly on your device. Now let's talk about fan noise, because these units tend to heat up, and when something heats up you want to cool it down, and the way to do it is just put a fan in it and let it run, you know. But the problem is fans produce noise, and noise is bad for recording, especially if you have like a dialogue or something like that. But you can turn them off by just pressing the mode button once, and you can turn them off. I just tend to leave them on if it's not that audio sensitive. If you do have a dialogue, just turn them off and you're good to go. But just so you can hear how they sound or how loud they are, just have a listen. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is power over USB. Since you're not just locked up in using NPF batteries, you are able to use a external power bank to power the unit. And we do use a MixPre 6, which also has a USB-C. We can run both devices at the same time, just using one power bank without soliciting the V-mount or something else on the camera itself. You have like separate voltage and you're good to go. So I love freedom. I love the possibility to use different things and not just being tied up to one thing. So that is a big plus. Overall, I think it's a great entry in the wireless HDMI stuff. If you're into that, like if you want to have a reference monitor or stuff like that, I wouldn't probably use it for streaming setups because you have audio, you have to sync that up in the back end, so that's a bit of a problem there. But other than that, like I said, boot up time is not great at all. Switching channels is not great, or any modes. Fans are pretty noisy, but you can turn them off. But other than that, I think they're great. It's a great entry wireless HDMI SDI combo for you to use on set, to have your clients look over not your shoulder, but have a look at what you're doing, so you're alone and they're over there and they're judging your work from elsewhere, you know. So that's it for today's video. I'm just gonna have to cut this one short because I had to do it twice because my fucking audio dropped out. Yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, motherfucker.